They tell us that love is the greatest human experience, that to live without it is to live only half a life. Fairy tales end in marriage, families build reputations on it, and entire industries, from Hollywood films to dating apps, sell us the promise of eternal togetherness. But what if everything we have been taught about love is a mask? A mask hiding something far older, far more terrifying, the fear of solitude. Carl Gustav Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst who reshaped how we think about the human mind, once asked a question that sounds almost cruel. How often do we see a man or a woman leaving this world with a consciousness which they had never lived? What he meant was simple. Too often people die without ever having been themselves. They followed the script written for them, get married, raise a family, maintain harmony, and never asked whether this script was truly theirs. Jung was not condemning love itself. He was condemning the way we surrender to it. Love as social contract. For most of history, what we call love was not primarily about passion or soulmates. It was about survival. In ancient Rome, marriage was less about affection than about securing alliances, producing heirs, and consolidating wealth. In medieval Europe, noble families married to strengthen political power. In many parts of Asia, arranged marriages ensured the stability of clans and the continuation of traditions. Romantic love, the idea of marrying someone because you are swept away by passion, is a relatively modern invention, only gaining dominance in the last 200 years. And even then, it remained tangled in expectations. To provide security, to uphold social reputation, to guarantee children. So when Jung asked whether love was a mask for our fear of solitude, he was not dismissing affection between two people. He was challenging the deeper system, a world that tells us to attach ourselves to another person not out of inner freedom, but out of fear of standing alone. The hidden bargain. When two people fall in love, it feels intoxicating, liberating, transcendent. But hidden inside this euphoria is a bargain, often unspoken. Each partner begins to give up small pieces of themselves. A hobby here, a dream there, a belief softened to avoid conflict. In moderation, compromise is natural, but slowly over years, these little concessions accumulate. The passionate flame turns into a quiet surrender. Jung saw this not as love, but as a slow suffocation of the self. He believed that every human being carries within them an urgent task, individuation, the process of becoming one's authentic self. But most of us never reach this point because we are too busy clinging to another, trying to fit into the mold of us. We call it devotion, we call it commitment, but beneath these beautiful words lies something darker, fear. Fear of being alone, fear of confronting our own emptiness, fear of realizing that without another person to mirror us, we do not know who we are. The illusion of completion. Cultural myths reinforce this fear. From Plato's Symposium comes the story of the androgynous beings, humans once whole, split into two by the gods, forever condemned to seek their other half. Western culture inherited this myth, embedding it in our language. Soulmate, better half, the one. But Jung rejected this. He warned that seeking wholeness in another person is a dangerous illusion. True wholeness, he argued, can only come from within, by reconciling the shadow, by embracing both light and darkness of the self. When we demand that another human being complete us, we are not truly loving them. We are using them. We are trying to outsource our own unfinished work. And what happens when they fail to carry this impossible burden? We turn resentful. We accuse them of changing, of betraying us, of no longer making us feel alive. But in truth, it was never their role to complete us in the first place. The radical act of solitude. To Jung, the most radical act a human being could undertake was not to fall in love, but to remain alone long enough to meet themselves. Solitude, he argued, is not loneliness. Loneliness is a hunger for others. Solitude is the presence of oneself. In solitude, the masks drop. There is no partner to impress, no role to play, no applause from the crowd. There is only you and the question you have been avoiding: who am I when no one is watching? This is why love, as society presents it, can become dangerous. Not because affection is wrong, but because it distracts us from this deeper work. It tells us that our value is proven when someone chooses us, when someone loves us back. But what if the real proof of value is the ability to stand alone, unchosen, and still feel whole? A fear older than civilization. Anthropologists suggest that humans are biologically wired to bond because, in prehistoric times, survival depended on the tribe. A lone human was vulnerable. Only together could we hunt, protect, and endure. This ancient fear of being cast out still whispers in our blood. To stand alone feels like death. And so, even in the modern world, we run from solitude. We drown it out with relationships, with noise, with endless connections. But Jung insisted that the path to true life runs straight through this fear. To individuate is to rebel against our own biology, to accept the terror of solitude, and to discover freedom on the other side. When two people come together in love, the world applauds. Families smile, society approves, and friends celebrate. From the outside, it looks like the perfect harmony. But what happens on the inside, behind closed doors, in the quiet corners of daily life, is far more complicated. The gentle erosion. At the beginning, compromise feels noble. One partner sacrifices a little for the other, and it feels like love. They cancel a night out to stay home. They give up a dream job in another city to keep the relationship intact. They soften their opinions to avoid conflict. Each gesture seems small, even beautiful, but over the years, these small cuts add up. The self that once burned bright becomes dimmed. Carl Jung warned that this is not a minor inconvenience. It is a betrayal of the soul. Love, he said, often disguises itself as harmony, but beneath that harmony may lie surrender. A surrender so gradual, so subtle, that the person does not realize they are disappearing until it is too late. Literature's broken lovers. This slow death of authenticity has haunted literature for centuries. In Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, we see a woman crushed between the expectations of marriage and the demands of passion. She sacrifices her reputation for love, but in the end, neither passion nor society allows her to live authentically. In Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House, Nora Helmer plays the role of the perfect wife, cheerful and obedient. But when she finally recognizes how much of herself she has sacrificed, she walks out of her family home, an act so shocking in the 19th century that audiences gasped in disbelief. These stories endure because they reveal a truth we sense but often refuse to face. Love, when mixed with fear, tradition, and conformity, can become a cage. Jung's sharpest critique. Jung did not despise love itself. What he despised was the way we confuse surrender with devotion. For him, the true tragedy is not the failure of love, but the failure of the self. A man or woman may live decades in a relationship, admired by friends and family, only to reach old age and realize, I never lived as myself. I lived only as half of a pair. This is why he wrote with such intensity about individuation, the process by which a human being becomes whole. To Jung, individuation was life's highest calling, and the danger of conventional love was that it often prevented this journey. The trap of dependence. What makes this so seductive is that dependence feels safe. We come home to a warm embrace, to shared responsibilities, to the comfort of not facing the world alone. But safety, Jung warned, is not the same as freedom. Safety lulls us into sleep. Freedom wakes us with fire. The cost of togetherness, then, is not measured in arguments or compromises. It is measured in silence. The silence of dreams never pursued. The silence of truths never spoken. The silence of a self that quietly fades away so that the we can survive. Modern masks of love. Today, the pressure is even stronger. Social media rewards us for proving we are loved. Couple photos, anniversary posts, matching rings, all perform the script of happily together. But behind many of these curated images lies exhaustion, resentment, or numbness. The relationship endures not because it nourishes both partners, but because ending it would expose the terrifying prospect of solitude. Jung would call this the greatest illusion, mistaking the appearance of togetherness for the reality of wholeness. A quiet rebellion. To resist this erosion is not easy. It may mean saying no when everyone expects a yes. It may mean keeping a dream alive, even if it threatens the relationship. It may even mean walking away, as Nora did in A Doll's House. But for Jung, this rebellion is not selfishness. It is necessity. A person who sacrifices themselves entirely for love does not truly love. They cling, they fuse, they dissolve. And in doing so, they betray both themselves and their partner. Because how can you offer genuine love if you no longer exist as yourself?